Hey guys, if you're interested in any figures or figure accessories that I have currently up for sale, go ahead and send me an email. Just go to my channel page on YouTube and go to the About section, click on that, and you'll be able to get in touch with me. How's it going, my fellow collectors? I am back once more, bringing you yet another Hot Toys video review. And this time we're going to be taking a look at the Hot Toys Dark Knight Trilogy DX19 Batman. And we're going to start off as usual with the first category being the source information. Now, this figure is supposed to represent all of the two movies. You could say three, but he never wore this outfit in the first movie, so I'm just going to say that it represents the last two. So it takes those two movies and rolls it into one, basically. So now that Hot Toys has done that, it makes the category of source information a little difficult for me to score. So I'll just try to score it as best as I can. So the second movie, The Dark Knight, was pretty awesome. Yeah, I have to say that it's my favorite among the trilogy. So if this figure was based off of part 2 alone, then it would get a 10 out of 10. And the third one, The Dark Knight Rises, I have to say that it's the weakest out of the trilogy. So if we were scoring part 3 by itself, I'd have to give it a 6 out of 10. Now, I have covered these films in the past. I talked about The Dark Knight Rises when I did the review on the Daft Toys Bane. So if you're interested in hearing more in-depth thoughts that I had about that film, just go ahead and check out that review. And if I'm going to score both those movies overall together, I'm going to have to say I'm going to give it a 8 out of 10, I guess. Yeah, we'll give it an 8 out of 10. Alright, so stick around, guys, and we'll move on to the next category. Alright, so now we've made it to the category of packaging. And as I've said before on previous reviews of DX figures, the DX line is among my favorite when it comes to packaging and boxes. You can't go wrong with any of them. So I'll try to keep this as short as possible. We have an image of Batman front and center here in black and white, and it is Christian Bale. It's not of the figure. And you have Gotham City in the background. You got his cape covering half of his face. And on the bottom it says Dark Knight Trilogy with the bat symbol on the bottom. Underneath that it says Batman DX19 1/6 scale collectible figure. Then you got the Hot Toys logo and the DX logo on the bottom left corner. And the DC logo on the bottom right hand corner. And on the top, you get the DC logo and it says DX19. On the bottom is the same thing. And on the side, it says Batman, Defender of Gotham City, which is pretty cool. It reminds me of the statue that they erected in Gotham City at the end of Dark Knight Rises. They erected a statue of Batman, and it kind of reminds me of this slogan here. Batman, Defender of Gotham City. And again, on the bottom, you get the DC logo, and it says DX19. And on the back, on the top, it says again, the Dark Knight Trilogy with the bat symbol. And below that, you get all the logos of the Hong Kong retail stores that sell Hot Toys. And below that, you get the warnings and stuff that nobody really reads. And then you get the barcode on the bottom there in the shape of a bat symbol. Then you get the DC logo and the WB logo on the bottom left. And then once we slide this out and remove the slipcover, you get this piece of cardboard with a picture. It's pretty much just a picture of Gotham City there in the background. And you also get this felt keychain in the shape of a bat symbol. And you also get this key ring that attaches to the keychain. And on the bottom, again, it says Batman, Defender of Gotham City. And then once we remove that, you get the figure and all of its accessories. And again, it's in the style of all the DX figures, this foam blister. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the packaging. So as per usual, since it is a DX figure, I think I'm going to have to give it a 10 out of 10. Alright, so stick around and we'll head on to the next category. Okay, so now we've made it to the category of likeness. And you guys are going to be hearing me reference the DX12 a lot since I did used to own it. I'm going to be referencing a lot of comparisons from this figure to the DX12. I don't have it anymore since I sold it in preparation to get this figure. Anyway, getting back to the likeness on this, the likeness to Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne, I gotta tell you guys, it's spot on. There's no two ways about it. They even have the mole that's right there close to his eye, right on his nose. This is more of a young Bruce Wayne, what he looked like during The Dark Knight, the second movie in the trilogy. This doesn't look anything like the DX12 Bruce Wayne head sculpt. This head sculpt looks more like the quarter scale Hot Toys Dark Knight figure head sculpt. I mean, it looks like they just took the Bruce Wayne head sculpt from that figure and just shrunk it down to 1/6 scale. Really, really awesome. The hair color, Hot Toys is known for giving us those shiny looks, which kind of makes it look not real. They do that with a lot of figures nowadays. But it's not too bad on this figure. They didn't go too out of control with it this time. But on other figures like the Two-Face 2.0 version, they went overboard with that one. It's just way too shiny, and this one could have used a little bit more of a matte finish. But it's not too bad. Other than that, it's a great head sculpt. So yeah, I'm gonna have to give it a 10 out of 10. I mean, I look at this head sculpt and I instantly see Christian Bale through and through. Alright guys, so that takes care of the likeness category, and now we're gonna move on to the next. Alright, so now we've made it to the category of outfit. And strap yourselves in guys, cause this might be a long one. I got a lot to say about the outfit. We'll go from top to bottom. The cowl or the mask has definitely changed since the Batman Armory version. There are a lot of similarities to that cowl, but there's also been some changes as well. I believe these lines that go from the top of the head to the front of the forehead, I don't think the Armory version Batman had those. And as for the shape of the jaw, I think that's also different. So they changed that. But I think everything else is pretty much the same. And that's pretty much it for the cowl. And the neck piece is pretty much just the same as the DX12 and the Armory Batman. And when we move on down from that to the torso, the design is pretty much the same. For the armored area and the pectoral region, it's pretty much the same except for the colors are different. I believe the shape of the bat symbol is a little different on his chest. And the carbon fiber on the pecs, I think they're a different shade. Either that or it's more translucent. So yeah, they really changed that up and it makes it look that much better. I think the shoulders are the same. The design on the biceps, I think they changed that up. The stripes used to be angled differently on the biceps. So they changed that. And when we move on down to the abdomen, all the panels on the armor throughout the body are a lot bigger. And I think it's a lot more screen accurate now. Because on the DX12 and the Armory Batman, the gaps between the panels were a lot more pronounced. So you could see the gappage a lot more. And it was pretty unsightly if you ask me. I don't think that's how he actually looked on film. My particular DX12 that I owned had a huge gap in between the pecs and the abs section here. And it was pretty unsightly. But this time around with the DX19, they got it right. Because you can hardly see the gap now, and that's how it's supposed to be. That's how he looked in the movie. I really like how they improved that. Moving on to the gauntlets, I think it's pretty much the same, and same goes for the hands. There's really no difference if you guys have owned the DX12 and the Armory Batman. Moving on down to the belt, it's pretty much the same as the DX12. The only difference is the color of paint that they used. It's a little darker this time. A little darker shade of gold. I think my DX12 was a little bit brighter than this. And moving on down to the crotch area, again, all the panels are bigger, so it leaves less gaps. And that's a highly welcomed change. I like it a lot. The crotch piece on the DX12 was a lot smaller than this, and so were a lot of these other panels on his legs. The knee pads are pretty much the same. They could be a little bit bigger on this figure, I'm not sure. Anyway, moving on down to the boots. They really changed these up. These boots look like they're a two-tone color, whereas the DX12, they're pretty much just one solid color. There's a gloss finish on this carbon fiber material. The DX12 had this carbon fiber material on the boots, but it was painted the same color as the rest of the boots. So yeah, nothing really different about the boots except for the paint job. But it does make it look that much better with this new paint job and the added gloss finish. And now we're going to talk about the infamous cape. Now, I've seen plenty of reviews on this DX19 figure. And pretty much on every single one that I've seen, every reviewer has bashed this cape silly. Pretty harshly. But having this in hand, it's not that bad, as everybody has made it out to be. The only problem I had was trying to put it on the figure. If I'm being honest, it was a real pain in the butt. But then again, I didn't really know what I was doing. If you guys have the DX12 or the Armory Batman, it has these clips on both shoulders. And you have to slip those clips into some holes on the shoulders. And I was having a hard time trying to do that. I had to look at the instructions. So what you're supposed to do is angle the clips vertically up and down. Insert them into the holes. And then after that, lay the clips back. Flat on his shoulders. If that makes any sense. I don't know if that's making any sense to you guys. But just read the instructions and you'll know what to do. So yeah, I had a hard time trying to do that, but as you can see, I got it sitting flush now. And now that I have it sitting flush on the figure, I gotta tell you guys, it looks pretty good. It's a huge improvement to the DX12 and the Armory Batman. But reviewers still have the need to complain about it. I don't know why. I've heard things like, "Oh my god, it should have been a velvet cape, oh my god." But to tell you the truth, guys, the movie cape was not made of velvet. They tried, on Batman Begins, they tried to use an actual velvet cape, but it turned out to be too heavy. And Christian had a hard time trying to move while wearing that cape, because it was so heavy. So they ended up changing it. It wasn't a velvet cape. It was actually made of a very fine parachute silk, which is a nylon material. It might have looked velvet, but it's not actual velvet. So there you go, guys. Not a velvet cape, in actuality. And if we're talking about the story in the movie, it wasn't a velvet cape in that either. It was made of like a electromagnetic material. It was that type of material where if you run an electric current through it, it gets rigid. And that's how he could glide through the air. That's how I don't understand how people are complaining that it should have been a velvet cape. Another thing I heard the reviewers complaining about was that they said that it still doesn't look good or whatever. I don't see what the problem is. It drapes very nicely. the way it should. If you guys remember the DX12 and the Armory Batman, the cape was just like poofed out and it just looked horrible. And this one drapes really nice, and the material, it's a nice material. Is it as good as the BVS Superman cape? No, but it's not bad. But reviewers are complaining and they're saying like, "Oh, I can't wait to get a upgraded custom cape from Tony May or Jackson Zoo." But seriously, guys, why would you want to waste $50 or $60 on a custom cape when this one's good? There's no need to upgrade. If anything, it's not an upgrade, it's just going to look exactly the same as this one. And this is coming from a collector who has a Jackson Zoo cape. And when I compare the two, they're not that much different from each other. I'll tell you that right now. I'll show you that, guys, in a later video. I'll show you guys the Jackson Zoo cape compared to this one. And you'll see the difference, which is not much, to tell you the truth. Alright, rant over. Moving on. So for the outfit, I think they pretty much improved on everything that they needed to. I honestly don't see anything that could have been better. A lot of reviewers say that the gloves shouldn't be sticking out. But honestly, what could have Hot Toys done to fix that? If you're going to be swapping the hands in and out a lot, it's going to be a real pain in the butt trying to tuck the bottom of those gloves into the gauntlets. So if I had to choose between movie accuracy and this, then I'd have to go with this. Because I wouldn't want to have to struggle taking the hands on and off all the time with those gauntlets. So since I can't find anything really to complain about, I think I'm going to have to just give the outfit a 10 out of 10. Alright guys, so that's it for the outfit category. Now we're going to move on to the next. Alright, so now we've made it to the category of articulation. And if you guys have owned the DX12 or the Armory Batman, there's really not much difference in terms of articulation between these figures. The articulation is pretty limited compared to most figures. We'll start from the top and work our way to the bottom. So the head is magnetized on the neck, just like the Hot Toys Venom and the Hot Toys Darth Maul. Just like the DX12 and Armory Batman as well. So you have a full range of motion, up very far up and down pretty far down too. Great pivot from side to side, and at the base of the neck it's got some articulation as well. The torso has decent ab crunch, and you can lean the torso backward as well decently. And as for the shoulders, you can pretty much get a T-pose out of them. And as for rotation, you can pretty much point his arms forward about 90 degrees. And backwards, I think the same as well. He can't go straight up, obviously, because of the shoulder armor that hinders his movement. That prevents him from doing that. He's got double bend elbows. And it's got standard wrist pegs that Hot Toys makes. It's still got the same problems that the DX12 and Armory Batmans have. Sometimes the gauntlets can pop off the hands from the wrists, so be mindful of that. One thing I forgot to mention about the torso, he can rotate a little bit left and right, but not that much. Moving on down to the crotch area, he can kick forward about 40 degrees, maybe a little less. And he kicks backward about as regular as any Hot Toys figure can. And he can do the splits not that much. I'm going to say about 40 or 45 degrees outward. As for the knees, it's got double bend, but the outfit prevents you from bending it all the way back. So it's pretty much only got a single bend. I wouldn't go any further than that if you want to risk damaging the outfit. Moving on down to the ankles, it's pretty good on that. It's got a split cut boot design. So you can pivot from side to side and move up and down pretty good. And the joints are really tight so he can stand up on his own without a base. So overall, like I said, it's pretty much identical to the DX12 and the Armory Batman. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. As you can see, I do have him driving the Batpod. He looks normal, but I had a really hard time trying to put his knees on the knee pads. They're still not even sitting on there. I mean, you can try as you might, but it's pretty tough to have him pose driving this thing. So if he could sit flush, like if he was driving this in real life, I'd easily give it a 10 out of 10. But since he's not, I'm going to give it a 6. So, alright, so that's it for the articulation. Now we're going to move on to the next category. Okay, so now we've made it to the category of accessories. Let's turn this on real quick. And as usual, since this is a DX figure, it does come with a boatload of stuff, which is always a great thing in my opinion. So we'll start off as usual with the hands. It comes with 6 hands, and they're the exact same ones that we've gotten in the past with the DX12 and the Armory Batman. We'll start off with the ones he currently has on. So he's got one left spread open hand, and he's got one right trigger hand. And he also comes with a pair of fists, which do come on the figure out of the packaging. And they all have the same detail as the DX12 and the Armory Batman. Really nice. Different patterns on the palms compared to the back of the hand. And then you got the carbon fiber knuckles. He also comes with one left trigger hand and one right batarang holding hand. The trigger finger hands, you can also use those to grip onto the handlebars of the Batpod. Moving on to the weapons, we have 3 batarangs and 2 handheld bombs. And then you also have the collar piece for when you want to put the Bruce Wayne head sculpt on the figure. And he also comes with this sticky bomb gun. It's the same sculpt as the DX12, but they painted it differently. It's all black this time. The DX12 had a gray finish pretty much throughout this whole thing, except for the barrel. I wish they would have just kept that look with the gray, but instead they just gave us this entirely black sticky bomb gun. I don't know if that's screen accurate or not, but I prefer the gray striped sticky bomb gun. Moving on to his mouth plates, he comes with 4 of them. So one where he's got his mouth slightly open, and one where he's kind of grimacing. I guess that's supposed to show like he's doing effort in an action pose that he's doing. He's also got this yelling faceplate, and he's also got his neutral faceplate that he's got on right now. I gotta tell you guys, the neutral faceplate is the exact same faceplate that the Armory Batman has, but it's painted differently. I wish they would have painted it the same way that they did with the Armory Batman, because I don't know if you can tell, but it looks like he's kind of got a smirk on his face. I wish that he didn't have that. I wish that he was more serious.
Why so serious?
It is the exact same faceplate. It's just that since they painted it differently, it looks like he's smirking now. Whereas with the Armory Batman, it looked like he was more serious.
Why so serious?
And since we're here, we also got the EMP gun. It's the exact same one that you get with the DX12. I'm not sure if the Armory Batman comes with this. I don't think it does, but the DX12 does. So it's the exact same one that we've seen before. And then we also get his grapnel gun. It's the exact same one that we have gotten before. The barrels are spring-loaded, and you can also remove the cartridge on the bottom. And you can also store this on his belt on the back. And then you also get his sonar cowl, which you guys have already seen in the outfit section. And it lights up really good, really bright. It's really awesome. I've always wanted this, but the only one that had this head besides the quarter scale Dark Knight figure was the DX02 figure. And I'm so glad that they brought it back to the 1/6 scale after all these years because we really needed it. And it's awesome. I love it. And then we have the Bruce Wayne head sculpt, which we have seen already, and you guys have heard my thoughts on it. It's really awesome. And we have the plastic tool, which you can use to remove the mouth plates and move the eyes as well. And we also get a spare pair of wrist pegs, just in case you break the ones that are on the figure. And then we also have his diorama display base. So we don't get a metal nameplate this time. On the DX12, it had a metal nameplate. And I think it said Batman DX12. I don't remember exactly. But this time it says the Dark Knight Trilogy Batman on a glossy black plate. And it is a little bit different than the DX12. It's similar but different. The paint on the entire stairs is pretty much repainted, and the detail is a lot better than the DX12 had. I believe the bat symbol was a lot darker than this one. The snow on this one looks like actual snow this time, whereas the other one it looked like just like white dust or something. And the weathering on the top step here, it's a lot more weathered than the DX12. It's a lot more beat up, if you will. Whereas on the DX12, it's a lot smoother. And that's pretty much it for the differences in both display bases. Everything else is pretty much the same. One thing I hate about this base is that they gave us these lights with no lights. So it really kind of pisses me off that they did this because they could have easily just taken those out and just given us a square base. It still has the compartment on the bottom where the batteries would go, but you can't use it. It's forever sealed. They should have just taken this out. But yeah, other than that, it's not bad. And then you also get an instruction manual, but I left that in the box. And it also comes with 6 button cell batteries, 3 for the light up sonar head, and 3 for the EMP rifle. But yeah, you guys should really go over the instruction manual. I know I had to, because I had to figure out how to put on that cape, and I had to figure out how to put the EMP gun on the Batpod. And that's coming from somebody who's already owned the DX12 Batman. Yeah, I had a real hard time trying to put the cape on, but once I did get it on, it looks good. So that's it for the accessories. So all in all, not bad. It could have definitely come with more, but we already got a lot. I mean, yeah, the figure would have been a lot better if it would have come with a lot more. You know, right off the top of my head, it could have come with the backpack that he uses in the Hong Kong scene in The Dark Knight. And they also could have given us the plastic piece that you use to strap on his back to make it look like his cape is flowing in the wind when he's riding the Batpod. It could have come with an extra belt that doesn't have any of his gadgets on it. By the way, this belt, it's not removable. You can't take it off, so don't try. The DX12 you could, but this one you can't. But yeah, that's all I can think of at the moment. So it's not going to get a full 10 out of 10 because it is missing that backpack, which would have made this figure that much better. So I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Okay, so stick around and I'll be back while we add up the scores and wrap up this review. Alright guys, so to add up the scores and wrap up this review, this figure gets a 53 out of 60. Pretty high score, all things considering. The lowest score that it got was on Articulation. But yeah, other than that, it's a pretty great figure. I highly recommend it. If you guys have the DX12 Batman and are considering to upgrade to this, I'd say go for it. Because that's what I did and I do not regret it. And I would say the same thing if you have the Armory Batman. Because this trumps that Armory Batman as well. Like I said before, this is pretty much just the quarter scale Hot Toys Dark Knight figure shrunk down to 1/6 scale. I really believe that. One thing I forgot to mention is that this figure is about an inch taller than the DX12 and the Armory Batman, but that's alright, it doesn't bother me. The pros definitely outweigh the cons. Alright, so that's another review done and in the bag, and I want to thank you guys for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. And stay tuned for my next video, guys. I'm going to do some modifications on this figure. But until next time, guys, I shall catch you all later on the tube. Alright, bye, guys.